Hello guys and welcome to a new video of my channel. Last July, private telecom companies raised their recharge plans, sparking concerns about the rising cost of using SIM cards from private operators. This has since triggered discussions on platforms like Reddit, where people have debated whether the price hike was justified or not, shared how they queued up recharges before the recharge prices increased, and reflected on topics such as Jio's role in democratizing internet access in India, the relative affordability of telecom plans in India compared to developed nations like the USA, UK, Australia, and more. During this time, many people remembered or told BSNL and started porting their SIM cards to it as it has cheaper plans compared to Airtel, Jio, and Vodafone Idea. I ported from Jio to BSNL when my plan was about to expire. In this video, I'll share my experience of using BSNL as my primary SIM and I'll help you decide whether you should make the switch to or not. Since I live near a BSNL exchange where they were selling BSNL SIM cards, I visited the exchange when my Jio plan was about to expire. For this process, I carried my Aadhaar card, generated a unique porting code for my number, and went to the exchange. It's a good idea to carry some cash, but you can also pay via UPI if they accept. BSNL has done away with the pen and paper subscriber application forms and has switched to a digital KYC process. The sales executive told me that once my Jio SIM no longer showed any network bars on my phone, I could insert a BSNL SIM into my phone. However, on the day when my BSNL connection was supposed to be activated, my number wasn't working after I inserted the SIM. I called the customer care from my secondary SIM and they informed me that my FRC or the first recharge coupon hadn't been processed. So I went back to the exchange and after the FRC was processed, my BSNL connection was online and it was activated. I was glad to see the 4G or LTE symbol next to the BSNL network. Before porting to BSNL, I would encourage you to check its coverage in your area, especially in places where you will use it the most like your home or office. You can visit nperf.com for this to check the 3G or 4G coverage, or ask friends, neighbors or colleagues who use BSNL for feedback on service quality. This will help you avoid the frustrating experience of being locked in for 90 days if the coverage and service aren't satisfactory after you port to BSNL. Later in the video, I will also suggest an alternative method if you want to still try BSNL. As I live near a BSNL exchange, I get 4G signals and performance is as you would expect for a typical 4G connection. Speed tests ranged anywhere from 1 to 20 Mbps for download and 1 to 15 Mbps for upload speeds on an average. However, in a few speed tests, I have seen the download speeds cross 30 Mbps and sometimes come close to 50 Mbps as well. However, one thing to note is that the ping is on the higher side depending on the location. So this may cause issues during gaming, but BSNL is still working on their 4G network and will eventually optimize their network in the days to come. However, one thing to note is that BSNL's 4G network coverage is expanding, and I can say this because my phone does not revert to 3G as frequently as it used to a few months back and it stays on 4G most of the time. Now, speed tests do not tell the entire story, so here's my feedback on everyday usage. If you live in an area where you get good and consistent BSNL's 4G coverage, then browsing the web works fine, pages load quickly. Scrolling social media works just fine as well. Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts load quickly, but they did buffer for a few seconds occasionally. Also, after scrolling 2 to 3 reels, sometimes it took a few seconds to load the upcoming video or reel. I was able to stream music on Apple Music without any issues of buffering. WhatsApp video calling works decently. I was able to make UPI payments as well, but in places with a little weak signal, it took a few more seconds to process the transaction compared to using Airtel or Jio's network. Now let's discuss the calling and SMS situation of BSNL as of now. For voice calls, my phone reverts to the 2G network, which means you cannot use mobile data during calls unless voice over LTE or VoLTE is available and it is enabled. This limitation occurs because 4G doesn't support simultaneous use of voice and data without VoLTE. I had to visit a BSNL CSC to get VoLTE enabled, after which I could make calls on the 4G network while using data simultaneously. With VoLTE enabled, calls connect quickly as it uses packet-based switching, which is faster than a traditional circuit-based method. Voice quality is decent on 2G if the signal strength is good, but it can get distorted and muddy if the signal strength fluctuates. If VoLTE is enabled, the voice quality is like you are dialing a number, let's say from Airtel to Jio, but you don't get HD calling. So that is the level of voice quality you can expect. But VoLTE is unstable as of now, and if enabled, it may cause call drops and voice issues at times. In this connection, during January 2025, I've experienced a lot of call drops on my BSNL number due to a fire accident in one of their exchanges, which may have caused call connect issues, and this incident even came out in the news. When someone called me from another state on my phone, the other person reported that it was searching my number for a long time before it timed out and it disconnected. Regarding SMSs, I was able to send and receive SMSs without major issues most of the time. However, there have been instances where OTPs took an unusually long time to arrive, a problem I've personally experienced. In my city, my BSNL SIM often switched between 3G and 4G while moving between areas during the first few months, and 3G was sometimes unbearably slow. My secondary SIM became essential in such cases when I needed to check WhatsApp, use Google Maps, or make UPI payments when I was away from Wi-Fi. However, now with the 4G coverage expanded, I find myself using BSNL more often. On a few train journeys, BSNL signals switched between 2G, 3G and 4G, which is not ideal for streaming or browsing, and it can take a toll on your phone's battery life as well. It's better to download content before traveling, like your favorite playlist or your web series. In smaller towns in my state, 3G and 2G were the only options, and data sometimes would not even work at all, forcing me to rely on my secondary SIM for tasks like online payments. During a visit to Pune, I mostly got 4G connectivity, though it occasionally reverted to 3G. However, at metro stations, BSNL struggled with connectivity, and even my secondary SIM had issues processing UPI transactions. Let's talk about a few drawbacks of BSNL as of now. First one is way too many recharge plans. BSNL, being a state-owned telecom operator, is required to provide services at affordable prices to all sections of the society. While it's good that there are many plans focusing on aspects like validity, voice and data at various price points, the sheer number of options can be confusing compared to Airtel or Jio, making it difficult for the average customer to choose from. BSNL needs to simplify its recharge plans and offer them at competitive prices. The second one is lack of 5G. Despite 5G trials going on in few parts of India and BSNL distributing 5G ready SIM cards, even if you have a 5G handset, the best you will get is BSNL's 4G, so 5G from BSNL is still in the future for BSNL users. The third one is data connection would sometimes just randomly switch off until I reset it manually, and indoor coverage is poor, especially in high-rise apartments where my phone reverted to 2G or would not work at all. Fourth one is the lack of VoLTE. BSNL needs to enable VoLTE for all its subscribers at the earliest so that they can have a clear and reliable calling experience. It's 2025 and a lack of VoLTE is just a deal breaker. Fifth one is customer service needs to improve. While I've experienced significantly lesser wait times while contacting customer care on their helpline, a few customer service executives do not seem to be well versed to handle complex or technical queries of customers, and in the self-care app, a few of my complaints were closed without being worked upon. So now to answer the question, should you port your primary SIM to BSNL? For now, I would advise you not to do so and hold on to your SIM of Airtel, Jio or Vodafone Idea. If you are someone who needs to take a lot of calls or relies heavily on mobile data for day-to-day work and you don't have a secondary SIM as a backup, you might end up in an undesirable situation if you port to BSNL. Yes, BSNL is expanding its 4G footprint rapidly these days, but it still has a long way to go before we get nationwide and uniform coverage at the level of private telecom operators. However, one thing to notice that whatever work BSNL is doing right now for 4G is essential for its transition to 5G. So transitioning from 4G to 5G won't take as long as it took for BSNL to transition from 3G to 4G. On the other hand, if you're thinking about porting your secondary SIM to BSNL or getting a new BSNL SIM card, I would recommend it. In this way, you can experience it for yourself and see if BSNL works well in your area without risking your primary number losing connectivity. If you have a positive experience with BSNL, you can continue using that SIM or decide if you want to wait for the services to improve or port your SIM to a different operator. And you can even consider porting your primary SIM to BSNL if the services of BSNL mature in the near future. I'm aware that many people who switched to BSNL last July following the tariff hikes have returned to their previous operator. This is mainly due to people porting their primary SIM cards to BSNL without proper research, leading to poor service quality and dissatisfaction. Therefore, I would recommend trying BSNL by porting your secondary SIM or getting a new BSNL SIM rather than risking your primary number. Also, BSNL is expected to introduce eSIM support by March 2025. So those of us who use flagship devices like iPhone or Google Pixel, which has one physical SIM slot and the other one is embedded inside the device, can finally try BSNL without going through the hassle of converting existing SIM cards of Airtel or Jio to eSIM and then inserting the physical SIM of BSNL into our phone and all. So this brings us to the end of the video. I hope this video provides a balanced perspective on the current state of BSNL's mobile network and it helps you make an informed decision. If you found the content helpful, please give it a like. I will see you in the next video and will share a follow-up once BSNL rolls out its 5G services. Stay tuned and take care, guys.